All right, everybody, welcome out to the Lager Room. It is Tuesday, December 29th, 2020. Jersey Johnny coming at you, and with me, as always, is Mr. Beer Samurai. Say hello, Mr. Samurai. Try again. Say hello, Mr. Samurai.
Hey, good evening, John. How are you?
I'm doing good. You sound a little different than normal.
Yeah, and I've lost a little weight. Thanks for noticing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, appreciate
Oh,
that.
there you go. There you go. Must have been. So you lost the holiday weight in the middle of the holidays.
Yeah. It was a new trick. I figured it's 2020. Anything can happen. So
anything can happen. That's true. That is true. Well, you sound a little different too. Would you do something to your voice in that weight loss?
Well, yeah, hormone treatments. It was a Christmas. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Something's a little fishy here.
No. But don't we usually start with kind of what today is?
Well, today is National Get on the Scale Day.
Yeah, and so I prepped for that.
That's what it was. Yeah. Okay, so that's why you look different.
You know, the fates are just cruel, making National Get on the Scale Day December 29th. So I figured, I'm just gonna fight the power.
You're gonna fight the power and get on the scale even before now, so you can lose the weight that you just put on.
Yep. So, but my voice is fine. I'm not sure. Are you feeling all right?
Maybe it's the connection. I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Maybe it's the Florida air.
It could be the Florida. Maybe it is. Maybe it's the Florida air. That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know though. Well, wait a minute. I got another video over here. Who's this?
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh.
All right.
No.
So we had an imposter, is what you're telling me.
You're feeling better now? No, you're feeling better now?
So my brother kind of liquored me up a little beforehand. He gave me this great stuff in Portugal. I've just been in the bathroom, avoiding the scale.
Is that what it was?
Because I have not lost the weight my brother has claimed to have lost for me. It doesn't work that way.
So your brother lost the weight for you, but you really didn't lose it.
Yeah, no. It's still right here.
Gotcha.
But I'm broadcasting live from Gavin's room.
Broadcasting live from Gavin's room. Just so everybody's aware, folks, this is Mr. Beer Samurai's brother, Brian. Say hello to Mr. Brian Cichon.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
All right. He's going to be back with us at the end of the podcast. Well, not at the very end, but later on in the podcast.
Yeah, we'll bring him. We'll bring him back.
We'll bring him back. We'll bring him back.
We'll bring him and all his medals behind him.
Bring him and all his medals behind him. I have medals from running. I don't know if they're from running, but
those are all from marathons. He runs marathons.
I don't run marathons. I run.
No one's explained to him that he doesn't need to.
I run 5Ks that give out medals. That's all I do.
Hey, when you love food and beer, you need to run.
Gotcha. This is true. You definitely do. All right. Well, Brian, hang around, check out the show, watch the show, and don't go anywhere. We'll bring it back in a little bit.
All right.
We'll see you in a little bit.
Thanks for the cover.
Thanks for the cover.
Yeah. I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you're feeling better. This should be an interesting show for you.
It should be. Man, the stuff we've got here. Okay.
We'll see Brian in a little bit. Thanks, Brian.
All right.
And why don't we bring in our actual guest today?
Who would that be?
That would be none other than Mr. Rick Reed from Cricket Hill Brewing in Fairfield, New Jersey. Say hello, Mr. Rick.
How you gentlemen doing today?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right so far.
Last time I saw you, Rick, was one of the final days of 381.
Remember that?
Remember that bar?
I remember that bar.
John remembers that too.
I remember that bar. I remember that. Yeah. That was a good time.
Yeah, it'll be back. Give it time.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's
381
now. It became a parking lot, and it's now half of a condo, I believe. Last I heard.
Isn't that a Joni Mitchell song?
Pave paradise and put up a condo.
Put up a parking lot. You skipped a step.
Put up half a condo. There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rick is also known by the name Reverend Rick. All right.
For good reason.
And later on in the podcast, we'll get into why he's known as Reverend Rick. But how you doing today? how's everything going these days, daily? Lately in the.
It's well, in fact, we're in the middle of the holiday season. It takes sort of the pressure off everything. But this COVID thing is really getting out of control,
This is
and
true.
it's hurting our industry badly. But hang in there. All you got to do is keep making great beers, and have you guys just keep drinking them. So we'll be happy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We will comply on our end.
Okay, and I'll do my damnedest to keep up the good work then.
So, well, that's a good thing. Well, you know what? Before we actually get into starting to talk about some stuff, why don't we open our beers? Dave, why don't you start us off and show us what you're drinking today?
Well, I mentioned I was in Gavin's room. Gavin is my nephew. That's my son's, my brother's oldest son.
Your son's oldest brother?
My son's oldest brother. And so I raided his beer fridge because I needed something from Florida. So I found something from Civil Society. I forget who the collab is. My brother told me, and I completely forgot.
Mortalis.
Mortalis. It's called Pie to the Face. And this is right up your alley, John. This is a sour IPA.
Sour IPA, right up my alley.
But it's flavored with banana, Madagascar vanilla beans. So this should be easy. So this is also one of my brother's grandfather. His favorite pie was banana cream pie. My mom would make him banana cream pie for his birthday every single year.
Oh, that's always fun.
One of the things my mom did very well was banana cream pie. I did not expect this to be clear.
Wow. Yeah, that sounded like it would be a lot more hazy than that.
And it's a Civil Society glass that I stole out of his cabinet. I didn't crack it, but remind me not to drink out of the crack side.
No, you don't want to do that.
Shot here. No. Blood sells, though, so we'll see.
Does it?
Blood and sex, right?
Blood and sex.
Oh, my God. The banana plays well in this. I got to give it to him.
Does it?
Yeah. I was dubious, but, they did a nice job with this. I don't know that I exactly call it banana cream pie.
Gotcha.
But that's my words. They don't claim for it to be, except for calling it a pie in the face. So it's kind of insinuates it. But
I gotcha.
no,
all right.
that's nice.
Very nice. Very nice. Let's see. We got a comment here while you got that up. Here we go. Brian Altschul says, "Cheers to Rick Reed. Happy 70th. Here's to Cricket Hill."
Cheers! Cheers!
Thank you very much.
We should put that up after we all had our beers open, so we could cheer Rick here.
There you go. We'll do it again in a minute. Rick, what are you drinking? Why don't you show us what you're drinking?
I went to my firstborn, the East Coast Lager.
Very nice.
So beautiful Bavarian Helles. You guys know we made it because we had all the time after 9/11.
Sure.
Couldn't get our brewery permit for a full year, so we started making a lager. We had time to do it, and it's been one of our two best-selling beers ever since.
The other being?
The other one being?
Is the Hopnotic.
Of course.
No, but of course.
But the second beer I have for today is the Milkman Stout.
We'll get to
the
that
Alpha
one.
Omega, the first and the last, the latest.
Very nice.
Funny. I'm drinking a stout for my second.
Yeah. So here it is. Bavarian Helles, 4.2%, easy drinking. My go-to beer, so I can drink it all day long, and I do.
And there it is right there, Cricket Hill, East Coast
Delicious.
Lager. 4.2% Helles Lager. Awesome.
John, in your Funky Buddha shirt, what are you drinking?
In my Funky Buddha shirt, I do have to tell you, I was unable to get a hold of any Cricket Hill cans for today's podcast. That's
good news, Rick. That means it's selling out.
Yeah, in my location, there weren't any available. Anything that they had was sold out. So, and I didn't have the time to drive up to the closest place that actually did have it in stock. So,
or Fairfield.
Or Fairfield for that matter. But,
where Cricket Hill is located.
But I will have something later on in the podcast to show you that was found this afternoon, as a matter of fact, while I was setting up for this, by the lovely Jessica. She actually did locate this for sale in a local larger store. And I'm not saying anything else. I'll show you when it's available later on in the podcast. So, but right now I'm going to be drinking this. It's from
Source.
It's from Source Brewing in Cold Snake, New Jersey. It's called Thought Control. It's a Pink Floyd tribute beer. So once in a while, they do an artist tribute beer, and this one they've done Bob Marley, they've done Bob Dylan. This one they did for Pink Floyd. It's a 9% double New England, as you would imagine.
So they're following in Dogfish Head's footsteps.
Pretty much. So while that Liz Poorhead.
Liz poured it again.
Liz poured it again. I didn't even try to Liz pour it this time. It's just I don't know whether it's the glass or the can or my arm or what or something. It's probably
You're probably not paying attention. Yeah.
Probably not paying attention
because you're busy talking while you're pouring.
Exactly. But we're gonna carry on. Do a little bit more pour here. Let that sit for a second, and then I'll take it. We can reach yours too. Oh, wait a minute. There's another comment. Hold on. Brian says, John is drinking Source, finally.
Yeah. I think they owe you a few 4-packs, frankly. How much you push their beer.
There you go. Well, they are pretty close. So.
And it doesn't need to be pushed. I do not need to insinuate their beer needs to be pushed.
Folks, in reference to what Brian said before in that comment, last week was Rick Reed's, this man right here's 70th birthday. So happy birthday, sir.
Happy birthday, Rick.
Cheers to Cricket Hill.
Thank you very much.
Here's to another 70 more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no thanks.
Hey, if all those next 70 can be spent with everybody drinking good beer, would you still say no thanks?
Yeah, no. That's you set a special set of rules there. So
there you go.
I'm in.
You're ready for that. All right. Well, as we drink these beers, why don't we talk about Cricket Hill a little bit? I get a couple of questions. Dave has some as well. I'll just start with. I just wanted what made you originally want to brew beer and own a brewery? What was the initial,
Well, you
light
start with
switch?
the basic. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh and weaned on Iron City,
Of course.
and I knew there had to be better beer around than that.
So you were drinking Iron City when you were in kindergarten, right?
Yeah, if you could reach $1 to the bar, you could get a beer. Nobody cares,
No. Absolutely.
And so as I knew there had to be better beer out there, and I came to New Jersey, and I was drinking Ballantine Ale,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess you could get that in Pittsburgh, but nobody ever drank it there. So I started on the green bottles with the little puzzles on the top,
Sure.
Nice.
and that I was working for a British company. So I was going to London a lot, and I was tasting these wonderful flavored beers, although they were warm and flat, but they had great flavor. And then our West Coast headquarters in California, I went out there, and there was a bar in every corner. I come back to New Jersey, there was nothing.
Nothing.
So I said, you know what? We were down in Bermuda for our 10th anniversary, my wife and I, Patty, and we were on one of those scooters, and the drinks in the hotels were like $10,000 each. So we stopped at a brewery, and we met a brewer who was a kid from South River, New Jersey, who now brewed beer in Bermuda. How cool was that?
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And then the brewer himself, his wife dumped him. He was from Chicago. He went to brewing school, and now he's brewing beer in Bermuda. So we get back on the scooter after staying much too long, and Patty says, we should look into that business. Well,
Well, there
the
you
green light went on.
Don't got to tell me twice.
go. when the wife says it, you're good to go.
Yeah, I said, we're all set now.
Gotta love it. Oh, well, that's perfect. And the rest is history, as they say. So, except for the fact that you did file your paperwork in 2001, and you had to wait extra time because of 9/11.
Yeah.
As you had said earlier.
What's
But
interesting,
the silver lining is the lager.
The silver lining is the lager. This is true.
Yep.
You had time to perfect it.
Yep, we had all that time, and we weren't allowed to even make beer legally. But
Sure.
We filled all the tanks and waited, and only almost 8-9 months later, we started selling it, and it was huge.
well, it's interesting because Wikipedia says that you were established in 2000, so that must have been when you put in for the licenses and everything, right?
2000 is when the corporation started.
The corp. So you put it in the LLC or whatever, right?
Yeah, it was May 15th when we filed for our federal permit after one of those stupid applications, like
Yeah, right.
1,000 pages. They want to know where the money came from, who your doctor is, everything.
Right.
You're a vet for your dog.
Yeah,
But 2002 is when you actually opened, correct?
yeah. Well, our first sale was in 2002 in January.
Right in the
Very nice.
beginning.
There you go.
In the time, so you were like what, the fourth brewery at the time in Jersey?
No, really, the story is the real story is we were number 9, but 3 had already closed.
Okay.
Red Bank had closed, Vernon had closed, and Blue Collar had closed. That made us number 6.
Right.
And then Tom Baker moved the heavyweight to Philadelphia, which left the original 5, they call it, because there's a long gap then to the next brewery started to open. Now there's over 100.
Right.
Right.
123 right now.
But that leads right. That's a great segue into the question I have for you, Rick. Okay, so you've been operating since 2002. 2012. Governor Christie, for all of his faults, did a solid for the beer and the craft beer industry in New Jersey by changing the laws, making it a little easier to open. So we saw an explosion after that.
Absolutely.
From your perspective, I mean, from a drinker's perspective, we're orgasmic. Like all of a sudden, we've got all this beer in the state. But from a brewer's perspective, what did it change for you? How did you see the industry change from 2002 to 2012 to today?
Well, initially, we were worried about it because all of a sudden there was going to be a lot of breweries. We knew it, a lot of little breweries. But we still had such an untapped reservoir of New Jerseyans who weren't drinking craft beer.
Yeah, so New Jersey's full of alcoholics.
Yeah. So this was an opportunity with the news and everything, letting more and more people see more and more beers coming from New Jersey. And there's less reason to go out of state. And so I said, live Jersey, drink Jersey. And that's what we found is we're not really competing with anybody. It's just all of us against them. And we won that war.
There you go.
That's I love that perspective. That's a great perspective on it.
All of us meaning all the craft brewers against them meaning all the macro brewers.
Right.
Which goes into what Fridays were like at Cricket Hill.
Sure.
They were a lot of fun, weren't they?
Lots of fun.
It's funny because I remember my first one. I think I remember. You probably don't remember me being there for the first time. I was actually doing a blog, and you grabbed your back pocket and said, "Oh my God, I just felt money rip out of my pocket." When I said that, but that was not what I was in for. But I made the mistake of referring to Fridays as a party. You corrected me and said, "This is not a party. This is a tour."
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There you go.
And this is the greatest tour I've ever experienced. The tour band was fantastic that night. But the highlight, no matter how good the band was there, and the Fridays there, if anybody had never gone to a Friday at Cricket Hill, there's a reason people would brave all the potholes in that parking lot to get into that brewery. I mean, you would have to replace your suspension after going a few times. But the reason for that, it was so much fun. And as good as the band was, as good as the beer was, the highlight of it
7:00
was that gentleman right there.
Not me, him.
Yeah, no, you're not a gentleman. I wouldn't call you a gentleman.
I know.
No,
I was
Rick.
there, but it wasn't yet.
That would be Reverend Rick up on the catwalk between the tanks. And you had a few different ways that you went with it. I think the first one I went was, well, they were all anti-macro, which was very understandable. Right. Everyone ate it up. Loved it.
So,
well, that all started because, we were new in New Jersey, new brewery. I was selling the idea of Jersey should be drinking Jersey. I remember going up to Vermont and buying some tanks from Switchback Brewery in Burlington. Mm-hmm. And they were getting rid of their 30 barrels, going to 200 barrels. I said, how'd you get so big? He said, because we're a Vermont brewery, and Vermont drinks Vermont. Yep. And I started getting angry. I said, New Jersey's a much better state than Vermont. It's got everything possible. What do they have? A bunch of liberals up there and some ski bums. And what do we have? We have the best tomatoes, the best pizzas, the best bagels, the best women by far. We have everything that we need in New Jersey.
Pork roll. Don't forget pork roll. We have pork roll.
Or Taylor ham. Come on, remember we play both sides.
I mean, we got it all. And what would happen is they wouldn't drink Jersey beers. And then so I got up and I was angry. I was really legitimately angry, which started this whole thing off. Mm-hmm. When they started lying to us, there was a beer out there that said they said they were frost brewed. Well, that doesn't mean anything. There's no such thing as frost brewed.
Frost brewed.
And then
Yeah.
cold filtered was another one. Well, you have to filter it cold. You can't not filter cold.
Oh, and then don't forget triple hopped.
Triple.
Triple
hop.
triple hop.
Hop. It's hopped 3 times, like
Yeah,
every other beer.
Right. It's hopped right.
So I was trying to teach everybody there, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but also, I don't care how much of those beers you drink, you're not getting laid by twins. You know what I'm saying?
You can say whatever you want. That's fine.
Oh yeah.
I started stomping around, and it got to be pretty popular, and I had a great time. Then people started drinking, so I wasn't so mad anymore.
I was so worried my first visit to the brewery that you're going to have a heart attack up on the catwalk. You sell it, man. You get red in the face. You stomp. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun, and man, you get everyone going when you do that.
Let's look at some pictures of him up on the catwalk. Let's do that. So there we go. There's one.
There he is.
All right. This one. Wait a minute. Yep. Oh no, it's a different one. I was going to say. I think I actually found the article you wrote the first time you were there, Dave, and this one's not from it, but I think one of these is the picture. But there's another one.
That might.
Up between the tanks. I think this was it, actually.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Because I think I cropped out your hand right underneath. So
I had quite a few Hopnotics at the time.
There you go.
And if I remember correctly, there was a couple of other really deep in craft beer people, and Rick went and back.
Yeah.
And he brought out a barrel aged porter for us.
Sure, absolutely.
And Rick got us a little tanked, which was good.
This one's
practice.
You got to practice. Absolutely practice. This one's one of my favorites though, because you know what? St. Patty's Day every year, the kilt comes out right there.
There you go.
And it's twice a year, St. Patty's Day and halfway to St. Patty's Day too. There you go.
Yeah, we missed this time because of that disease thing.
Yep. You know what else we missed this year too? We missed the one beer fest that you and I are always together at in Montclair. This one that we were together.
Yeah.
And this is 2 years ago, and then that's last year.
That's it.
There we go. But well, hopefully soon. I don't see it. You know what? I think we're gonna be lucky if we get any beer fest in 2021. That's my opinion.
So?
I think so. I think we're looking at.
We'll have to have our own little beer fests.
We're definitely gonna have to have our own beer fest. Absolutely.
How many were you allowed to have? 9?
Nine, but only if you submit the right permits for it. That's it.
Rick, you throw one, I'll come home for it.
There we go.
Okay.
I live in Rhode Island now, but Jersey's always home.
We got a couple.
We'll have to get megaphones to talk to each other.
Absolutely.
You don't need a megaphone, Rick. I've heard you speak.
We have it. Yeah, this is true. You did. That man does not need a megaphone.
He does not need a megaphone.
Not at all. We have a couple comments here. Brian put in, don't forget Beechwood aged.
Right, there you go.
So as far as regarding New Jersey, Pete Minetti from the Sports Podcast on Wednesdays said New Jersey also has the best jug handles.
That's not a sexual innuendo.
That's not a sexual innuendo.
It's actually a thing for those of you watching outside of New Jersey. It's actually a traffic thing. We have the only jug handles.
Only jug handles. Not only the best, the only. There you go. And he also said that you're too sexy for the catwalk.
Who said that? Fred?
No, Pete. Radio Pete from the Sports Podcast.
No, okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Said Fred.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Right.
Nice one, Rick. It went right over John's head.
I went right over my head. That was good. It went right over my Fred. There you go. Right over my Fred. There you go. And Gene Lynch said, "Cheers to Cricket Hill Brewing and Rick Reed." So,
that's nice.
Wanted to get all of them in there. So, yeah, you mentioned back before that. I was going to ask you that about how you came up with those speeches, but because I had already known the story with the. You getting aggravated. In fact, I think I was there the day that the tanks arrived from Switchback, whatchamacallit. But we're having that conversation, and you got and you were getting, you sort of steam coming out of your ears. So I knew damn well the speech that night was going to be good. So, but in any event, I was going to ask you. You said you were number 9, 4 had closed. Three had closed,
Recall.
and then Baker moved to Philly. So at that point leaving 5. Who were the others at that point? I mean,
Well,
just let
first-
everybody know who the others were.
Yeah, okay. The first ones, we're not quite sure who was first. They'll
I
even
know
have
somebody's going to
fights.
tell you he was first, but
Someone claims number 1.
The Crazy Dave would be one from Climax,
Yep.
and then and then Flying Fish, Gene down at Flying Fish.
right.
They both say they started first. I don't know who was. I wasn't around, so I don't know. Then came River Horse
Right.
and Greg up at High Point or
Craig Zicardi
at
and Ramstein.
Ramstein.
Right.
And then came Cricket Hill. So those are the 5. We had a tour, I guess it was 2 years ago.
Mhm.
We went to a couple places, just the 5 beers, the 5 original beers, and the 5 old guard, they called it.
The old guard. I remember that. That was a couple years
Yeah,
years
that-
ago. Yeah. So
We should
that
have done that more, but
When did Brian come into it?
when did Brian come into it?
Yeah.
Brian Boak.
Yeah.
Oh, he was late in the show.
He was
Yeah,
late.
he was later. Okay.
I think
Yeah.
he was probably around 09, 2010 maybe. Because he was contract. He was Gypsy Brewing and contract brewing with Greg in High Point.
Yep. At High
Yeah.
Point.
He didn't have his own brewery, but yeah. Well, cheers to you and cheers to all of them. I mean that hierarchy the old guard, as you said, was that was fun because hey, you know what? Anybody that was loving craft beer back in the day, that's where we went, and that's what you did. All these beer has turned into beer and breweries have turned into a tourism.
Absolutely.
Big time.
It should be an adventure.
Absolutely.
It started out. Now there's so many breweries. I remember I used to say I was going to visit all the New Jersey breweries.
I
We
tried.
can't do that.
No.
You can't do it.
Um,
All I ask is if you're in New Jersey, drink New Jersey beers.
That's it.
If I go to New York, I'll only drink New York beers.
Right.
If I go to Vermont, I only drink Vermont beers.
Right.
So
Right.
that's it. Drink local.
There's so much local beer pretty much everywhere you go. There's no reason to go. Now, don't get me wrong. Stone puts out delicious beer, but I'm not going to Boston and drinking Stone.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
I'm going to Boston and I'm drinking Trillium and Treehouse and Night Shift and yeah.
I moved to Rhode Island, and within months, I had hit every brewery they had. And we just opened 2 new ones. I've been to one of them already.
I thought within months you can pretty much go to every house in Rhode Island. So.
Within months, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know if the state's big enough to hold the Beer Samurai, but we just opened a new one that I've not been to yet. When I get back to New Jersey for my job, I've got to quarantine for 2 weeks, and by quarantine I mean drinking a lot of beer.
Good
so
for you.
I may have to get down to.
Well, it helps. It does help.
Get you through it. Of course, not during work hours because I'm supposed to be working from home. We'll see how that goes. I won't be wearing pants. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, tore through all those breweries because I was in Rhode Island. Embraced the Rhode Island breweries.
Sure.
Got some really good breweries up there.
We've had our last couple of guests have been
And I
owners
say
of breweries. And,
you guys say up being in Florida. Between Proclamation, Tilted, Long Live, Smug, all those. Just love the breweries. So, but to your point, Rick, I moved to Rhode Island. I became a Rhode Island beer nerd.
Good for you. Good
Sure.
for you. Then just remember this. Any beer you have from anywhere in the world, I can find you a beer just as good, made in New Jersey and fresher.
sure.
It's just out there. You just got to find it.
Yeah.
That actually leads me. That's a good lead into to something I want to talk about. We'll hit the ticker here for beer news.
Oh, you found some news. Nice.
Well, I made some news.
Oh, you made it.
if you will.
Oh, wait a second. You're going to turn into CNN and start making news?
No. All right. I came up with something to talk about. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, now and this has been an observation of mine going on for a little while now. Liquor stores, bottle shops, obviously they're, other than the mom and pop tiny ones, they've grown exponentially as far as their craft beer selection goes. Obviously the bigger ones are even much better. But I have noticed more and more that there are less and less other styles on the shelves and mainly IPAs available. And I know the lead in for that is that a lot of breweries are making more IPAs than they're making anything else. That's a given. That's obvious. But there are other beers out there, and they don't seem to be bringing a lot of them, or if many at all, in. And I'll give you an example. I was actually at a liquor store, and not a small mom and pop either. Not a big Bottle King or Spirits Unlimited or anything by any means, but somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit past the middle size-wise. And there wasn't many, and this is going back a couple weeks ago, when there still should have been a lot of winter styles out there and some other things available, and it was literally 95% IPAs on the shelf. And I asked the manager, and he said, and I quote, "My customers only want IPAs." That was his answer. So I don't know if this is a thing, if it's just coincidentally happening when I've noticed, or what I've noticed over the last, few weeks or whatever. What's your take on that? That's what I want to know, both of you.
I'll start just by saying IPAs are the first and easiest change from your everyday, I want to call it your everyday drinking lager. So now you want to adventure into something, you're going to go to a hoppier beer, an IPA.
Sure.
And then I think it's getting out of control. I mean, you can chew on some of the IPAs that are out there. And it's also, remember this, it's the easiest, fastest beer you can make.
Sure.
And it's easy only because the hops cover up any mistakes you make.
Absolutely.
And then, to a hophead, all you got to do is overload it, and he'll think it's the best beer in the world.
There's a certain strain of yeasts out there now too that some breweries are getting a hold of, and they're cranking out batches of IPAs in 6 days.
Yeah.
They're fermenting at higher temperatures, and the yeast is just ferocious and eats, does what it normally does in 2 weeks in 5 days. So they can brew a beer. They can brew a beer on Monday and can it and sell it on Saturday.
Unbelievable. And all it is the flavor is overwhelming by hops.
Sure. And those beers have a shorter shelf life because the bulk of the flavor is going to be in the dry hopping, and that's the first to go. So.
Yep.
What's interesting, I see it a little differently. My go-to store in Rhode Island is called Nicky's. Then I love this place. The first time I stepped into it, I looked at the owner of the store, Dave, and went, "You're going to cost me a lot of money." I'm just saying. And so the last time I was in there, they were getting a delivery, and they were getting 5 cases of Heady Topper. Heady Topper just a year ago was so hard to find. And so I mentioned it to him. He said, "Well, with COVID, you're getting a lot more distribution because on-site sales have dropped. So all these breweries now are distributing so much further." I showed you, John, and my brother, that Nicky's got Surly Abrasive. That's one of my favorite IPAs because that's one
Absolutely.
of the early on ones.
Absolutely.
Before everything got hazy and, to Rick's point, chewy. This was this is one of the first IPAs that I looked at and went, took a sip of it and just, okay, my very first IPA blew me away. And then they were all kind of similar. And then this one. So what they're getting there, but to your point, they're getting a lot of IPAs, but Nicky's is getting so many other different styles.
Right.
So I think it's a little different, which is weird because the New England IPA rules, of course, right? We've got breweries up there that, they have that one base beer. They just keep mixing up the hops. Okay, so this has got Big Secret and Osaka. This has got Big Secret and Citra. This one's got Citra and Osaka. This got Citra, Osaka, and Big Secret. And people are supposed to expect them to be different, so different. And yes, okay, they're different, but try something. Try getting outside your comfort zone a little. Give us something other than your base beer with different hops in it. And Nicky's actually does that. They bring in so much stuff. Yes, oh my God, there's a lot of IPAs there, but they do get heavy on the on the stouts, on the porters, on barley wines, and styles that you don't see. They've got a nice international selection there as well as getting a 3-year-old narwhal on the shelf, vintage section. So, and that's where I'm going to lose a lot of money, is in that vintage section. Oh my God. So to your point, John, it's absolutely right where people are looking for those IPAs and they are flooding the shelves, but the the beer stores worth their salt are absolutely looking for all those different styles. They're looking to bring in beers that will challenge their drinkers.
Right.
Challenge those customers.
It's the what's new syndrome, we call it.
Absolutely.
What's new? What's new?
And you know what? As a drinker, I am absolutely guilty of that.
Yeah.
Nikki's has I don't know if they call it what's new or just in section. I go right there first.
Okay.
But, like John and like Brian, because Brian actually has more untapped check-ins than I do. One of the few human beings I know that does.
That's possible.
Right. I want to drink something I haven't drank before. I want to try something else. And, and sometimes, just like my cooking experiments, these things fall flat on their face because they've pushed a little past the envelope and gotten a little crazy. But sometimes you get these things like, this is a banana vanilla sour IPA. And
banana vanilla sour.
You lost
IPA.
me at sour.
Rick's not a big sour guy.
Yeah, but
you guys have done some sours lately, so.
But this is John's. But this is John's wheelhouse. Sour IPAs.
Sour IPAs, yeah. Sour IPAs are good. I mean, look. There's not really any styles, me personally, that I don't like. I mean, obviously some I like better than others. The only one, the lowest one, if you will, and I'll still drink it if it's done well and if it's done right. But the lowest one for me would be a Pilsner. Very rarely will you see me drinking a Pilsner unless it's done very well. If it's done, most Pilsners that are just, thrown together, and I say that tongue in cheek, thrown together quick, because obviously we all know they're lagers. They need the time. But, ones that, don't take the time to, have not a twist to it, but they're not true, whatever from, German styles. They evoke too many memories of Budweiser for me. So I just,
I don't mind a well-done Pilsner.
Well-done Pilsners I will drink, but ones that are, I don't want to say subpar, but a little more back in the mix, fold back into the fold, if you will. They still have a little bit too much of a reminiscent of Bud for me.
Well, let me tell you a quick story about sours. I used to tell people sours were somebody's mistake. They got in there, they let their beer go bad, and it's sour, and so now they can put it in bottles and sell it.
There you go.
And they said, no, it's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were making an ESB in a bourbon barrel aged, in a cask, and we opened it and tasted it was sour. And they said, all right, let's just put it in the thing and sell it as sour. See, I told you, it's somebody's mistake.
Well, I remember a certain porter doing that once.
There you go.
I had done a cherry brown homebrew, and I didn't like it. It didn't throw the cherry I wanted, and it actually got. I had about 4 cases of it. It got thrown in my basement. My basement flooded, and when I moved out of the house, I grabbed this box. It fell apart, and all these bottles poured out of it. And this is like 5 years later, and I realized what it was. Oh my God, that's that cherry brown that I brewed. And just out of curiosity, I popped it. I could tell, okay, so this infected. Did it infect bad or did it infect good? Mm-hmm. And the beer actually started. It drank like an Udebruin.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't give you one of those.
No, you didn't. Maybe you know what? You know what? Maybe you did. Now that I think of it, maybe you did.
I think I did. A lot of people wouldn't drink it because they're afraid to go blind because it was so old. But there's one in the back of my fridge in case.
Now that you mention it, I think you did. Yeah, that was.
I get
if I'm remembering it correctly, it was actually a pretty damn good Udebruin.
Yeah, it worked. I was surprised. So yeah, to your point, Rick, when beers can infect bad, they can infect good, mm-hmm. And maybe that started the whole concept. But when you start looking at the lambics out of Belgium,
sure.
where they do it intentionally. I mean, some of these things are fantastic.
Yeah.
But speaking of Belgium. I think my least favorite style. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My first sour was a Lindenmeyer, which might as well be cough syrup.
Oh, Lindemans.
What?
Lindemans?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, God, those things are. But that goes right into what I was going to say. My least favorite style is like Lindemans. It is a overly sweet lambic, and I can't remember the name of the style. It's like cotton candy. John, you might remember the name of the style.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Now that you asked me, of course, I'm not going to guess it, but.
And we're waiting on Brian Altschul to then correct us.
Brian, we know you're on. Do your research. What style is that Lindemans?
It's a super sweet sour. It's not a Lindemann, but there's a style, and that style I find, unlike John, who will drink an example of his least favorite style, I won't drink one of those again. They're just too much.
Right. No, they are. Yeah, I mean, there's some that are over. I mean, you know what? Any style you do, depending on how over the top that style is, it's one and done. If you can even get through one and done. Yeah, I am too. So,
okay.
Just for your point, EBF, and I know the online, virtual EBF is coming up.
I ordered
in a little
mine
over a month. I ordered mine too, so we're good to go. But,
hopefully your box arrives better than the box I sent you.
Yeah, no, it's still nothing. It's 3 weeks tomorrow, so I'm not getting it at this point.
It's gone. It's gone. It's gone.
It's gone. But
maybe the cans opened up and they threw it away.
Who knows? But
I'm waiting for the fine notification because I shipped beer.
Yeah, right.
Away I wasn't supposed to.
But in any event, whatchamacallit? Yeah, where was I going with that?
EBF. You were talking about
EBF. Yeah. So every year, Extreme Beer Fest up in Boston, we attend it every year. Just as an example, a few years ago, when I walked in, I guess it was probably 2018, maybe it was 2 years, so almost 3 years ago. When I walked in, I went straight to the other side and started and went up that aisle. And the first booth was Long Trail. And the first beer that they had that I grabbed, so it was the first beer I had at EBF that year, was an onion IPA. Okay, an onion IPA. Now, we know that, certain hops throw onion, and you can get that earthy onion flavor to a point, right? But this was onion juice. I was drinking hoppy onion juice. I literally took 3 sips of it. And mind you, it was done very well. I'm not saying it was a bad beer by any means. What they said it was. They brewed it. It was an extreme beer. But I couldn't do more than, they gave me 2 ounces. I drank 1, and dumped the rest of it. But to your point, any beer that's pushed to that limit, to that boundary, to whether it's a crazy, super sweet, cotton candy sour or whatever it is, it's a one and done beer if you can even get one out of it. So that's my point of that.
It's like something Jesse Carity just posted up. He said it was an article, a tongue-in-cheek article, that guy drinks cat urine and thinks he's drank the best IPA ever. Which is, most people don't realize Jesse Garrity was actually making fun of himself because he loves the cat piss IPAs. Yeah. The ones that are so ammonia.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's he doing now?
Super Simcoe.
He's railing against the government because they let him fail, because they gave him no money, and they gave money to all these like super chains instead.
Yeah.
Folks, Jesse Garrity had, if you're unaware, anybody listening that's unaware, had a craft beer bar in
him and his dad,
Montvale. Him and his dad in Montvale, New Jersey, and Montville, New Jersey. Excuse me. So it was right at the border Boone. Poor Henry's, and it was a great spot. And yeah, with everything that happened this year, they're done. So.
We lost a phenomenal craft beer bar. Jesse would get things on tap that you didn't see at any other craft beer bar in New Jersey.
Yeah. I certainly couldn't get them.
Yeah, it was insane what he could get there, and
I remember he texted me and said, "Rick, we got Maine beer coming. It'll be here for lunch." I said, "Okay."
That was exactly, and I got those texts every once in a while too. It was right over there. So. But Brian, I think might have found your answer.
Barrow, thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
This is what Brian's good for.
This is Brian's our top fan, folks. He and also our producer. He finds out things for us. So he's our studio producer.
He's our erstwhile producer. If we ever get,
that's great. But
we gotta get. So I lost my brother.
Lost your brother
out somewhere. He needs to show up because I'm getting ready to pour the second beer.
Right. Well, yeah, he's. I see his camera here, and he put it down, so he walked away. I think we're ready for that. And then we'll go into our threes. But we
need him for the threes.
We need him for. Oh, there he is. Wait, I see the top. I see his forehead. There he is.
Forehead.
Okay.
Okay, come. You need get in here. Get a pour.
All right, there he is. All right, so.
And then when he gets back, put him on, and we'll go into the threes.
Yeah, when he gets back, I'll put him on. Yeah, get your pour first, Brian, and then we'll And then
We're
we'll
gonna
go
give
into the
him.
brews.
So I'm
Wait,
pouring.
Samurai, what is that? What is that in your hand? Is that a bottle?
This is a bottle. Believe it or not, bottles still
Wow.
exist. And I'm pouring. What I'm pouring here is called. It's from Trillium because I get to Trillium a lot because I'm close enough. It's called Danish Gentleman. This thing is huge, so I need help drinking this. And I'm pouring him into an Underdark because this is a brewery that he introduced me to. Yes, Intuition. He just whispered Intuition because I forgot the name. Intuition Ale Works is out of Jacksonville. My brother used to live in Jacksonville. Intuition and Ardwolf. Oh my God, I loved going there. I'm going to pour into a Cigar City. My brother's going to go back to his camera because we're going to bring him back on. But after we do Ching Ching, so we got the Ching Ching.
You're pouring into Cigar City.
I'm pouring into a Cigar City, small.
Oh, glass.
Glass, yes.
Gotcha.
Because what's this? 15.7.
15.7.
And I'm sure me rolling this around on the glass is going to do great for the audio for the podcast.
By the way, if you have any of that left in that bottle, just send it over here.
Yeah, there's
15.7. Wow.
The thing is, cause I'm either going to finish drinking it or I'm going to knock it over because this is going to wreck me.
While Brian walks back to his camera, and then we'll get him on, and we'll start our other beers too.
Holy crap! The almond in the nose on this thing. Holy!
There he is. There he is. Welcome back to the show, Brian.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right.
Okay, this tastes just like a goddamn almond Danish.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be cooking dinner now.
And it's what I found was it's a collab. It's
you
a collab with
spaghetti. You promised me and my kids spaghetti.
It's a collab with Evil Twin.
It is a collab with Evil Twin, and it's supposed to be the best spaghetti in the world, from what my brother says.
Wait, the spaghetti's a collab with Evil Twin, or the beer's a collab with Evil Twin?
Spaghetti is a collab.
I'm the Evil Twin.
He's the Evil Twin. Wait, you're older though.
No, he's Rick's.
I mean, you're younger, Brian. You're younger, Brian.
It's funny because I've got about 100 pounds on him. So I'm technically his little brother as far as age is concerned.
Yeah, not so much.
But by size, he's my little brother.
There you go. All right. Reverend Rick, what are you drinking for your second beer?
I'm doing the Alpha Omega. So first was our East Coast Lager, the Firstborn. Right. And our latest is the Milkman Oatmeal Stout. Made by the formula came from Mark Tilley, our brewer, who was the brewer in Long Trail when he fell in love with a girl who was moving to New York. And so we grabbed him, and he's been doing a sensational job for us down there.
Love is a many splendored thing and makes you do some stupid stuff.
There you go.
Speaking from experience.
Well, in keeping with the theme of what you guys are drinking, I will be drinking a Dogfish Head Campfire Amplifier.
Nice.
There you go.
It is a s'mores stout.
So we're all going dark.
It's a 6.5% milk stout. 6.5% milk stout that's brewed with graham crackers, cinnamon, marshmallows, cocoa powder, and vanilla.
Actual marshmallows? You didn't substitute marshmallows for lactose?
No, actual marshmallows. This is Sam Clagione we're talking about here. So.
Yeah, it is Sam. Yeah, so yeah.
So there it is, nice and dark in a Dogfish Head glass too. So cheers, folks. Cheers. All right.
Oh, this beer's gonna hurt.
Wow, that really is a s'mores.
Wow,
that's a s'mores. Look at that.
Oh.
I'm sure the flavors that are falling out of the beer that two of the three of you are drinking are ridiculously
this
more so than this
insane,
one. But
John. It's absolutely insane. It really tastes like I'm drinking an almond Danish.
Really,
it's wonderful.
Rick, what? Give us tasting notes out of what you're drinking.
Yeah, let's hear about the Milkman.
Brag about your beer.
I want to hear about Milkman.
Yes.
This is I'm not one to do the write-ups for it, but it's very smooth, very creamy. It's got good backbone because all of our beers we try and do is we want a lot of flavor in the mouth and we want a good mouth feel.
Sure. And
then the flavors are the chocolate and the oatmeal we get in there, thicken it up a bit. It's only got bittering hops and that's it. The nuggets.
Nice.
So it's very smooth, very easy to drink, and low alcohol. It's only 6%.
Very nice.
So it's good beer for the winter cold days.
John, this may
But
be
you know
the
what else
first.
I want to talk about bottles versus cans. I'm
Oh.
old school.
Okay.
Yeah, he is.
I'm old school, and I got $100,000 bottling machine.
Well, this is a bottle too that I'm drinking out of a bottle for the
And
Dogfish
that's why I
Head.
said you're drinking one of your beers out of a can. I've never seen one of your beers in a can before, Rick. They're always in bottles.
Brand new. The distributors just said you got to go to cans now. Bottles just aren't selling anymore.
Yeah. Well,
But cans are
that
hard to
is
get right.
that is true. That is true. I have to I have to say that is true. In fact, I think there was somebody years ago that was doing sales in New York City for you that suggested that cans might be the way to go.
Would that be you, Johnny?
Who was
Yes,
that?
I wondered who that was.
Who could that be?
If
yeah,
you-
no,
if
that
you
that
need
is
more,
true. So,
It's not empty.
it's not empty. So,
Well, that's a big 750, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. This is a
Yeah,
bomber.
okay.
all right. I don't believe the lovely Jessica is going to get back in time, but she did pick up. I got to tell you this. She did find in a store, and mind you, it's a pretty decent sized store. I'm not going to tell you where it is or what it is or who it is because I got to get my my tail back down there and get the rest of what's on the shelf before anybody else goes or you go. But I will tell you this right now. She just bought today. There were 2 bottles on the shelf, two 22-ounce capped bottles on the shelf of Cricket's Nocturne.
Wow.
Oh, that's one of my favorite Cricket Hill
When was the
beers.
last time? But, that was what, 2013 maybe was
That
the
was
last
a long time ago.
2012, 2013 was the last time Nocturne was
And
in
it's
a...
not a very big beer. I hope it's still good.
Well, you know what? I actually found a couple in Cable Beverage up in whatchamacallit, New York.
The
Yeah.
best shelf turd place.
Oh my God,
on
Cable
the
Beverage, and yeah, it's Bordonia. Yeah, that's it.
Mhm.
And they were actually they were probably 4 or 5 years old at the time that I found them, and they were pretty damn good. And you know how much I loved Nocturne, and personally, I was upset when it changed to a chocolate stout instead of a Schwarzbier. But whatchamacallit? Yeah, it's she found them. She took a picture of it. In fact, if I can put it, you know what, I'm not even going to do it because the other beers are in there too. So there were. Let's put it this way: there were other bottles on the shelf, not a Nocturne, but other. Let's put it this way: they had gold on the label. All right, so we'll leave it at that. All right, and they were on the shelf too. So I'll be going back and making a purchase, and you and I will be getting together, Mr. Reed. We'll be having some of those beers. So that was crazy. But in any event, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying about bottles, and it is true. Cans are the way to go. It's cheaper for you. And obviously not so much if you have to bring in a mobile canning line and you own your own bottling line, then it's not cheaper for you. But, just the actual materials, obviously it's cheaper. But that's the way everybody's going. But there are still bottles out there.
We're in can shortage, not.
Right now we're in a can shortage, yes. There's
no shortage.
There are
Someone
certain
seems to be
there are
sitting on
certain
them.
beer manufacturers that aren't worried about a can shortage right now. But
Who Rick hates with a passion. You can just watch him on the catwalk. He'll tell you who they are.
on the catwalk. All right. Well, you know what?
On
This
the
is a perfect time to lead us into our 33s, our top 3 lists for the day.
And Rick will appreciate this. The reason we decided to go with 3s is 33 is the year Prohibition was repealed.
Good for you, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why we go with
Absolutely.
top 3s. And also top 10 would take us
Top 10. With 4 of us sitting here today, it would be
40 beers.
It would be another
Yeah.
40 minutes, and I'd have to go get another couple beers. So
40 minutes. No, that would take 2 hours.
at least. So 33s, top 3 lists, and today, this week, is top 3 craft beers that got us into drinking craft beer in the first place. So why don't we let our special guest, Mr. Rick Reed, start?
Absolutely.
Throw him right to the wolves.
All right. Well, this was first. Let me tell you. I mentioned it before. I was working for a British company, and I was spending a lot of time in London
Sure.
at one of the pubs, or at pubs they had. And then our U.S. headquarters was in Los Angeles, and so I was in California a lot. So when I was in London, I tried my first ESB, not knowing what it was. It was a Fuller's. You can't really call it a craft beer, but it was magnificent. It was magnificent. And I came back and I said, this was delicious. I go out to California, I had my first Sierra Nevada, the pale ale. Sure. I love pale ales. So there were two great beers from both sides. And then I stumbled into one of my favorite beers, Le Vin du Monde, out of Canada.
Le Fin du Monde.
And it came in a big bottle.
Sure.
That. And between those three, I said, you know what? New Jersey has nothing. Oh
my God.
We got to get into this business.
Talk about a variety of styles, too. An ESB, really. A pale ale, and...
Fuller's, Sierra Nevada, and Unibrew.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
Damn.
That's great.
London to Chico to Chambly.
There you go. Look, showing your geographical knowledge there, Mr.
Yeah,
Samurai.
so I've always been good on geography.
So, all right. Well, since you got the geographical knowledge, why don't you go next? Give us your top three.
So I had a different top three, but between you and my brother, I decided to give some of them up. So I'm going to go with a little different one, but I'm going to comment the hell out of yours, John.
Okay.
Because you stole most of them, but I'm going to give.
They're my top three. So
they're your top three, and since they're solidly your top three, and I've got like a top 10 in this category, I can defer. We forgot to mention that we do have one that is just common probably to all four of us.
Sure.
Right. And that would be, and so I'm not going to count it as one of my three.
It's none of ours. So.
It's none of ours because it's just everybody on the East Coast must bow down to Boston Lager. Boston everything on the East Coast. So we're giving that as a given. And I'm going to bring that up right now because, before Boston Lager, everything was just, Budweiser, Coors, Miller, Schlitz, Schmitz, occasionally Molson, right? All that stuff. And then Boston Lager came around and we realized, hey, you know what? A beer can actually have flavor and actually not taste like ass when it warms up. Right? So now that I've dispensed of that, I'll go into my top three. And these are in no order whatsoever. They're just, what I experienced. So when you take Boston Lager and the flavors that it threw, there was one beer that really stood out that took the flavor profile and amplified it for me, and that was Dixie's Black and Voodoo. Dixie Black and Voodoo Lager just threw it. It was one of the first beers that really challenged my palate and said, can you handle this beer? Now, by today's standards, this is a throwaway beer. It's not anything that the newer drinkers would consider special. But back in the day, there was nothing like Dixie Black and Voodoo, right?
No.
And my brother could attest to this because he drank it. He knew it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then, another thing, like to Rick's point, a lot of beers, and I know, John, you're going to get into it as well, a lot of beers that we got into that really started to open our horizons were the imports.
Sure.
But my first experience into Belgian beers, and not from Belgium, it was a Belgian style, but it was a Belgian brewer, was Celis White. Kellis, I'm pronouncing it properly. Kellis White. And Kellis, so Peter Kellis, if people don't know, Peter Kellis is the one who pretty much is responsible for those Blue Moon drinkers that think it's a Belgian beer because he resurrected a style that had disappeared. Wit had completely disappeared. Peter Kellis was working for a brewery, and he came across the recipe and decided to brew it. And that's what people knew is, as Americans pronounce it, Hoegaarden, but it's actually pronounced Hoegaarden.
Hoegaarden, yeah.
Yes, and we didn't really know it in the U.S. until Kellis came over and introduced Kellis White. And when he came over, and where was he brewing? Out of Texas, I think? Somewhere out of Texas?
Yeah, I believe, yeah.
And he came over with three beers. Kellis White, there was a raspberry, which was supposed to be a lambic, and no offense, Pete, but you kind of failed at reproducing a a framboise. It wasn't quite a framboise, but it was to the American palate fine. And he had a Grand Cru as well, which was again short of what would normally be your Belgian Grand Cru. But the Kellis White was basically an American brewed Hoegaarden.
Right.
And Kellis White really that blew me away. So that was one of them, and introduced me into Belgian styles. And I mentioned Boston Lager starting the East Coast craft beer revolution. The West Coast beer revolution was started by, and Rick brought them up, Sierra Nevada, but also Anchor. Anchor was big into that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But on the West Coast, especially up in the Northwest, one of the first breweries out west that hit into our area was Rogue.
Sure.
And Dead Guy. Dead Guy branching, because was it a Maybach? Was it a Helles? What was it? Right? they didn't even really make a delineation.
It was a May Helles.
Dead Guy. May Hellesbach.
May Hellesbach.
A Maybach from Hell. And, this was, you picked it up because they had a really good label, right? This is Dead Guy Ale. Oh, this is hard ass. I got
painted.
Marketing is important.
Yes. And then you drink it and I think I froze there for a second, but this is not a hard ass beer. This is actually a very drinkable, solid beer. And, it started expanding the styles there into, more of the European styles. And, so those are my three.
Well, there you go.
So let's toss it over my brother, because he told me what his three are. And these are really three intriguing beers, because when the craft beer revolution hit here, it started when he was in New Jersey, but he moved to Boston. And
well,
I think
is he going to make mine look like they're, Blavi or?
Yeah, he's going so obscure that we're just going to go. Because he's going to go really New England centric here, and for very damn good reasons, and we're all just going to nod our heads here as he mentioned. So
go ahead,
pass it over. Go
for it, Brian. Go.
Yeah, no, and Rick, you're going to appreciate the first one, because what made me fall in love with what I'm going to put at the top of the list was the fact that there was these two kids. They're in college. They were brewing beer. They started a brewery, but they brewed one beer, and they had gone to England. They had some of the English ales over there, and they said, you know what? We can come back to America and we can make some good English ales. And Tremont Ale. It was Tremont Ale was the name of the brewery. Tremont Ale was the beer. They're no longer around, unfortunately. I think Shipyard purchased the recipe and made it for a few years, but it wasn't the same. But Chris at Tremont Ale back in the early 90s, that was a beer that, you know what? Yes, the beer can taste good in America. It can have all those malt flavors without being way too buttery. And that made me fall in love with what beer really could be. And about that was good. About the same time, again, New England, as David said, Ipswich Ale was doing some really good beers, and we were talking about this earlier, right? You guys were talking about the IPAs. It's like, if you think about it, IPAs weren't around, but some of them were really hopped. They were pale ales, but they just didn't call themselves India pale ales, even though they had the hops. And Ipswich Ale was good. It wasn't like a Sierra Nevada where they just dumped a ton of hops in there, but it was a good balance, and that was really kind of the first introduction outside of Sierra Nevada, where it doesn't have to be so hop forward. You can still enjoy the ale aspect of it, get that hop flavor, and Ipswich did a good job. They started an oatmeal stout back at the time too, which really showed me, like, you know what? If you take the time and the care, you can really put out some good beers. Because even before they marketed it, they called me and said, hey, we come get a growler of this, try this out, tell us what you think. Because I used to do holiday beer parties, and everyone loved it, and that was my goal: turn people away from all those breweries that my brother mentioned, and have them realize that beer can have a flavor. People just come over to my apartment and have it. So, once I fell in love, I tried to share that love. And, Breckenridge was another brewery back then. I tried to expand a little bit outside of Boston, and Breckenridge was doing some really good beers back then.
Shout out to Colorado.
Shout out to Colorado and Harry Lugnuts from the Sports Podcast. He's from Denver. So shout out to him. In fact, the last time I was at Breckenridge, I was there with Harry Lugnuts. So, but continue.
Yeah. No. I mean, and it was just, it was a lot of ales, pale ales. But I remember, going back to I used to do winter beer tastings because it was great. The different flavored beers. It wasn't so much adjunct oriented. It was more spices back then. But I remember, and I'll close on this. Running into someone. It was mainly coworkers that came to these parties, and I saw someone the next week. They're like, "I hate you." I'm like, what did I do? They're like, I went out last night, I ordered a beer, and I couldn't drink it. It tasted like crap. It's
Sure.
like, my job is done.
They got woke. I love it.
My job is done.
So being in, coming of drinking age in New Jersey, like my brother and I did, we both remember traveling to liquor stores to get those holiday beers, like he mentioned.
Sure.
Right, Bricktown at least. You only had to go to Bricktown, and you lived in Bricktown, so you only had to go across town for it. I had to travel quite a bit further. But yeah.
Just as an aside, too, that bottle of Cricket's Nocturne was found in a store in Bricktown today. So just
and it's probably the one where my brother would find his holiday.
Yeah, right.
Was it in a parking? Was it across a parking lot from where a Kmart used to be?
Maybe.
Possibly. And I think there was a great steakhouse there called Rustler at the time.
So, all right. So I got to give you my three. Oh, and full disclosure, too, the last time I was in Breckenridge, I was with Harry Lugnutz. Brian Alt was actually there with us, too. So I just wanted to point that out.
Our number one fan.
So, all right. And a side note, too, we mentioned before, EBF, and of course I put up the selfies of me and Rick, so I have to put this one up too. So there.
We all know who that is.
And that was
Sam Adams.
And that was at EBF, and that was he and I had just had 2 beers together, a beer and a half, because I still had half in there and I walked away. But I guarantee you he was probably, I'd say about 30 or 35 beers into the night.
And everyone knows I make fun of John and his selfies.
And this is why I put it up, so he can make fun of me.
Yeah, so I can make fun of him.
But and you guys were talking about O. Henry's. When I lived in Boston, you used to be able to go to Doyle's. If anyone's ever been to
Doyle's.
Yeah.
Doyle's closed.
They closed last 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But you could go. It was before Sam Adams had the tours, and they had kind of their tap room there where they did it. But they would just take kegs over to Doyle's, and you could get some amazing beers that they're just one-off, some Sam Adams.
Absolutely, Doyle's was their tap room.
So, John, we do have to do, my brother and I talked about this, we do have to do top 3 favorite Sam Adams beers at one time. We did Dogfish Head. We're going to have to do them at some point.
We'll have to do Sam Adams, yeah. And it's only fitting that if we did Dogfish Head, we have to do Sam Adams since they actually own each other. So.
Yeah, they're in bed with each other. So, John, on to your top 3, because I am going to comment the hell out of your top 3.
Comment the hell out of my top 3.
Because you co-opted so many of mine.
I didn't co-opt them. These are actually my top 3. All right, so I'll go in reverse order. My number three.
Oh, you put them in order.
I put them in order. I'm going to actually get rid of this Cricket, the crawl on the bottom here, because
I was just to say
this should have been up the whole time.
There you go.
There we go. My bad. That was on me. That's on me, folks. My number 3.
Bro, do you need more?
I'll have some more. I'll have some more. Pour it in there. There you go. What you got? Pete's Wicked Ale. Pete's Wicked Ale from the if you're speaking of New England, you're speaking of Boston, especially the wicked part of the ale.
Wicked.
Yeah, that was just that beer. Just I remember it. Yeah, no, Pete's Wicked Ale.
Wicked Fob Pot. That was a sign up that during COVID said "Stay Wicked Fob Pot."
Yeah, there we go. They actually had a strawberry blonde out at one point too. I wasn't too fond of it, but it was actually.
But John, that was one of the beers living in Boston when that came out. It was one of the first craft beers that you would see the tap handles up, where it wasn't all the usual suspects, and Pete's was right there with it. So.
Pete's was right there with it, right?
Yep, yeah.
But we had that favorite holiday beer, top 3s.
Sure.
And Pete's Wicked Winter was one of the ones that I would travel for.
Pete's Wicked Winter Ale was actually a pretty good beer.
It was a damn good
it really
beer.
Was. Did you ever have the pleasure of trying it there, Mr. Reed?
No, I remember when you said Pete's Wicked, I remember just going in and getting a 6-pack of that and a 6-pack of St. Pauli Girl and coming home.
There you go. And calling it a night. There you go. Went back and
And
forth.
did you like Pete's Wicked?
Yeah, it was very good, very good.
It was a good beer. It was.
I
Good.
didn't have the one John's talking about. What was it?
Well, that's a good-
the strawberry
that's a good
blonde.
thing.
It's a good thing you didn't have it.
It's not one of their.
It's a good thing you didn't have it. But yeah, Pete's Wicked Ale was just a good beer. My number 2, I'll jump the pond and go over to London there in England there in the UK, if you will, for a little bit. Samuel Smith's Tatty Porter. Samuel Smith's Tatty Porter was definitely a good. It got me going with the, I had dark beers before, but my entire dark beer portfolio, if you will, at that point was Guinness, Beck's Dark, and Heineken Dark. So
Guinness in the United States.
Sure,
It's not Guinness, right?
it's not. Yeah, well, yeah. U.S. Guinness, US
Tatty Porter, like I said,
and Murphy's too. We'll throw Murphy's in it too.
but Mackeson's Triple X was one of my favorites.
Sure, no, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
But John, because I'm gonna step all over you, like I promised I would.
All right, yeah,
Tatty
go.
Porter. So Tatty Porter, 1988. I worked up at a Boy Scout camp up in by the Delaware Water Gap, and
Sure.
if you went into East Stroudsburg, there was a bar there called Floods. Floods prided themselves in getting so many beers from overseas. They had some kind of beer drinking program, much like Cloverleaf does, but it was really just, traveling the world through their beers. And I ordered a Tatty Porter. When they put the bottle down, I thought the bottle was black.
Really?
And when I started pouring the beer and realized this bottle's clear,
This bottle's clear, yeah.
I admit it, I got scared. And I took one sip of it and went, I really need to drink more black beers. This is fantastic.
No, Tatty Porter was a great. My second in the Samuel Smith's range was their Nut Brown. Their Nut Brown was actually really spot on.
That was a good one.
And you know what?
Doesn't make my top 3, but it was my second favorite Samuel Smith's. So.
And you know what? If you want to point to any beer that will epitomize what an oatmeal stout should be, it is Samuel Smith.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, their oatmeal stout is up there as well. And any of the Samuel Smith beers are
The winter warmer. That was good.
the winter warmer is very good too.
Yeah. Which should have been which is one thing I forgot when we were doing our favorite holiday beers.
Yeah, we should have done. Let's see if the other one we can throw in there too. I'll give you my number 1. Here we go. My number 1. We got to go back to Boston. Harpoon IPA. Harpoon IPA is my number 1. That beer, I'll still drink it today. It's I actually think it tastes better at the brewery up in Boston, but and as does Boston Lager too, by the way. Boston Lager at the Sam Adams Brewery in Jamaica Plain.
And Guinness in Dublin.
Sure, but
which I know my brother is done. Damn it!
All of the Boston Lager we drink in Jersey, or for you in Rhode Island, or even down in Florida, is brewed in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So,
yeah, it is.
So the Boston Lager that's brewed in Boston is only for Boston. So,
Yes. Yep.
But in any event, those are my top 3. You want to jump in the Harpoon?
Oh, I'm going to jump on Harpoon.
Go for Harpoon. Go.
Harpoon IPA was my first IPA. And I remember drinking it, and I know that they say that it is. What does Harpoon IPA come in at, like 5.9%?
Somewhere in there, yeah. It's
And
under 6, but it's in the 5s. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 5.9, and I think I remember drinking it and going, "They're lying," because that beer was one of the first beers that I got that wrecked me. I really thought they lied about their ABV, but it was my first IPA. It's the first time that I had a beer that, the bitterness was at a level that I was not used to. And I will admit right now that at first I did not like it.
Okay.
Like, what the hell is this? By the third one of them, because I bought a 6-pack, by the third one of them, I was like, all right, so we're doing bitter now.
I think
this is where we're going.
Better.
And so yeah, right. So, and then after that, I had a Sierra Nevada Pale.
Yeah. I think we can all say the first time we had anything that was on like super floral, grassy, bitter hops, the very first time that any of us ever drank something like that, it was met with a,
what the hell? And floral's a damn good word for Harpoon IPA, right?
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's
yeah.
super floral, that beer.
Yeah.
But we got a couple of entries here into our
Top three.
our top threes. So let's go.
Brian,
of course. Samuel Smith's Nut Brown, Pete's Wicked Ale, and Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. So all three have been mentioned.
There you
respect.
Very solid list. Very good. And Dave Campanelle.
Hi, Dave.
He went in reverse order. He did Sam Adams Cherry Wheat, Sierra Nevada Pale, and Victory Golden Monkey.
That's an interesting one. Now, the thing I'll say about cherry wheat is Sam Adams cherry wheat.
Sam Adams Cherry Wheat, yes.
I was thinking Sam Smith's cherry, because Sam Smith's cherry is when I first drank Sam Smith's cherry, organic cherry, right? It's like, well, Sam Smith, that must be one of the Smith brothers because it tasted like cough drops to me.
Right, yeah. Well, when I first had a cherry, never mind. That's not it's not a beer story. I got to.
Yeah, take a sip after.
Take a sip after that one.
Yeah, take a sip after that one. That's good.
Sam Adams Cherry. There we go. When I first had one of those, it was actually. You know what? Sam Adams Cherry is
solid beer.
It's a solid beer. It really is. It's not too sweet. The cherry's there. It's not super faint in the background, but it's not in your face. And it's a decent wheat beer.
Well, David and I were talking about this earlier today too. They did a cranberry wheat around the holidays that was solid. They just took the base and put cranberries in, and you got extra tartness, but it was perfect with a holiday meal.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my top three anyway.
That's
Pete's
one of the
Wicked
ones we
Ale.
missed.
That's another one we missed in what? In the holiday beers?
No. In the holiday beers, one of the ones we missed was Old Fezziwig.
Oh yeah, Old Fezziwig's amazing. I love Old Fezziwig. The problem with Old Fezziwig is years ago you were never able to get Old Fezziwig except for in the mixed 12-pack.
Right.
All right. And now you can't get it.
Well, the funny thing is
there's only one place you can get Old Fezziwig. You know where that is?
Boston.
That's it.
But there was a couple years ago they did that. Here's the thing, and there's a funny thing, and I don't mean to jump on Sam Adams about this or Jim about it. Is Jim still points to the fact that Boston Lager is the number one selling beer out of Sam Adams because their shareholders have tried to get rid of it, and Jim keeps it alive by making sure it's in every friggin' 12-pack and showing that this is the best-selling beer we have. Well, you buy any 12-pack of Sam Adams, you have to buy Boston Lager. I've got no problem with that, but the younger generation...
They don't want it.
No, they've pissed all over Boston Lager, and I think they need to learn where the roots come from.
You know what else is in every 12-pack of Sam Adams, too? Now... Not anymore. It was just Boston Lager and then whatever other beers they put in the 12-pack. Now, Sam 76 is in there too. You got Lager and 76 in every 12-pack.
Huh.
Yeah, 3 bottles. So half the 12-pack is Lager and 76, and then you got 2 other beers. So, but but like I said, they have not put Fezziwig into the mixed 12-packs in years, at least 3 years, I would say.
John and I will revisit Sam Adams at some point because we've talked a lot about him in this episode.
We'll touch on that. I want to throw it back to Rick though. I want to ask him as far as since it is still technically the holidays, and we're about 40, we're about 53 hours away. What?
John, I'm going to interrupt you here.
Sure.
Because the last episode we really should have had Rick on that episode.
That's true. Yeah, this is true.
It was Festivus, and Rick brews a Festivus.
We last Wednesday was our last Wednesday episode. Now we're all on Tuesdays for the craft beer.
But the last Wednesday was a Festivus.
It was Festivus. We should have had you on and we should have all gotten a hold of some Fall Festivus, which I have to tell you is a delicious beer.
It is.
Yep. And one that I look forward to every year, and I was able to get a 4-pack of it Only one, and it was gone in a couple days. But
So, Rick, are you a big Seinfeld fan that you felt the need to brew that?
I am, or I was. I don't know if you're allowed to still be, but
You are. You
that's
can.
for the rest of us. And when they order it, I tell them we start with the airing of the grievances,
absolutely.
and we end when the host is pinned in this wrestling match.
Which I had to be reminded of by one of my friends, Jason, who we call Meathead because he's just an amazing meathead. And so we tried to do that on the show we couldn't really physically pin anything. So we asked someone to please pin the podcast onto Pinterest somewhere.
So it can be pinned so that we've finished it. But we did have feats of strength. Dave's first beer last week, he had 4 12-ounce cans. He poured them into one.
No, 3 because your
math
was wrong.
My math was wrong, but
we have
that was his feats of strength. His first beer was his feats of strength. So.
We banned John from doing math.
No more math
at all.
I can't. No.
That was one of my grievances with John.
I'm a mathematician until I start drinking beer. Then it's out the window. So. But
it's like they have the jug, the holder up at the Asbury Park show where they hold up the big bottles of beer.
Oh, sure. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but and Brian just said actually, talking about we'll finish up with the Sam Adams. Finish up on the Sam Adams. Brian said Sam 76 is good, and Dave Campanelle said Sam 76 is a good one too. So,
and I've not had 76, so based on those two guys, I'm going to have to go.
No, Sam 76 is a decent beer. It's a decent beer. I'm not. There's nothing wrong with either of those beers. I love Boston Lager, and it's it's just that
special place in my heart.
The marketing and again, no fault to them. They're actually doing the right thing for their brand and getting these beers into people's hands. I think they only do. They may be doing 2 and 2. I think they only do 4. They bring it up to 4 for those beers, and then they do 3 and 3 for something like that. I forget what it is, but there's a smaller amount of them. But Lager and 76 are in the 12 packs now. But anyway, moving off to Sam Adams, like you said, we'll revisit Sam Adams. We'll do a Sam Adams show. Maybe we'll get if we're not fortunate enough to get Jim Cook on the show, we'll get the New Jersey sales manager for.
We'll do that and ask them. Make sure they tell the story of the Hopocalypse.
The Hopocalypse. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's a good story.
That's a great story. That is an absolutely great story. That shows how much heart Jim has and how much he's devoted to the craft beer.
Absolutely.
Unlike the macros and the beer can apocalypse.
And I've said this before on the show. There's a lot of some smaller brewery owners and definitely a lot of people younger, obviously, in that enjoy craft beer or craft beer geeks, nerds, whatever you want to call them, and they all put down Sam Adams. Oh, Sam Adams isn't craft beer. If it wasn't for Jim Cook, we would be so far behind where we are right now in the craft beer movement.
Amen.
Yep.
So, bow to that man. Don't put him down.
And we will bow to Rick as far as bringing New Jersey craft.
Absolutely. Beer. As much as we bow to Jim Cook for the craft beer movement in the United States, in the craft beer movement in New Jersey, let's bow to this man right here, Reverend Rick Reed. Cheers to you, sir.
Cheers. And if you drink in Jersey,
hey, it's the most fun you can have and call it a job. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I've experienced that for years. We just lost your brother.
He's almost done with his glass, so that's understandable.
I think he's gonna refill and then rejoin us. You know what? While Dave refills his Danish gentleman glass, I'm going to ask you a question. It was something actually I wanted to bring up in beer news. Whatchamacallit? We've been talking about one of the segments we do, and there wasn't any this week. We didn't talk about it technically. There actually, during this pandemic and during everything, there have been some breweries that have been thriving, and there actually have been some breweries that have opened up during the pandemic. They've actually there he is. Go rejoin.
I got dumped off the show, so
there we go.
You can actually click the link and rejoin.
Can I hear me?
You can go click that link again and rejoin. So you can go click that link again and rejoin.
Earwax. My brother and I are going to share some earwax. No, take this one.
You can go click that link again and rejoin if you want. So.
No, because the mouse is actually working, so I can't actually rejoin. So my brother and I are going to share some earwax here.
All right, so you share some earwax. Let me finish what I was saying to Rick. whatchamacallit. There have been some breweries that have actually
Okay,
opened up
so
during.
my brother's going to go start cooking dinner.
There you go. Hey, Brian,
So
thank
I'm
you
gonna
for
take
joining
over.
us.
Hey, Brian. So you're getting your thanks from John. You're getting okay. And seriously, thanks for the Wi-Fi first of all. Thanks for letting me raid your beer fridge. So get in here. So everybody, my brother.
Hey, thanks everyone.
There he is.
Can you hear him? All
Awesome.
right, so he's got to go start dinner.
You
because
got
we
it.
gotta
And
get
Brian,
these
if you
kids
do
fed,
find-
since we don't give the kids fits.
Tell Brian if he does find another bottle of that
He's
Danish
gone.
gentleman. Okay, well later you can tell him later.
No,
Tell
no,
him if he-
that was my bottle.
Oh, that was your
No,
bottle.
I brought that down.
Okay, if you find another bottle of Danish gentleman, then
So
anyway.
I'm gonna try to find another bottle of that and maybe bring that down, and maybe you reckon I can do a bottle share, and we can
maybe. Well, I definitely have a bottle of one of the two bottles of Nocturne. I will definitely open up with that man right there.
There
We're
you
gonna
go.
have to see what it is, and I have a bottle of, I think it's 2014 Cricket Hill Bourbon Barrel Aged Imperial Porter.
I'll open that one with me too.
And I'm going to open that one with him as well. So the three of us, you find the Danish gentleman, and the three of us will drink those three beers plus others. So, or something of equivalent.
And I'll bring down some,
texture,
and I'll
so.
bring up some Florida beers that I found because we were at Copper Point earlier,
Right.
and
Oh,
we're
you
at
were
Nomo,
very nice.
and there were some nice. Oh yeah, Nomo. We had a Coquito Porter.
I picked up a
Oh, that was a
bottle.
good beer. So
I picked up a bourbon barrel aged barley wine and a barrel aged maple porter today. I picked them up. I won't tell you where they were from, but the town was in the ocean area.
you're such a tease.
So, but in any event,
In
so
the
back to
ocean area. Huh,
In the
begin
ocean
with a
area.
K and rhyme with
Okay.
Kane.
There's something like that. Brian said I better be invited too. He said so. Bring a bottle. You're
Brian,
invited.
you're always actually
always invited.
invited.
You're-
Brian,
How can we
we're
not
doing it
invite
on
our
your-
producer? So I mean,
Brian,
yeah.
we're doing it on your deck, so yeah, you're invited.
Exactly. You're invited because it's at your house. So anyway, I was asking Rick a question. This is the longest question I've ever asked.
Were you?
I had told him while you were off before. I had told him that we do a segment of new breweries. That some breweries are actually during the pandemic have actually been thriving, and some new ones have actually opened during the pandemic. And for an example, just this week, last week or this week, Iron Hill. We all know Iron Hill. Obviously, they have a lot of locations. New Jersey, they started in the area, right? They just opened their 18th location in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I just wanted to get
Really?
Reverend
They went down
Rick's
to
take.
Atlanta.
They're down in Atlanta. Iron Hill is down in Atlanta. I just want to get Rick's take
So
on
yeah, let's get
breweries
Rick's
opening
take
up.
on the
Not so
down
much
in
Iron
Georgia.
Hill specifically opening in Atlanta, just new breweries opening up. I just wanted to get his take on it. That's all.
Needless
Well,
to
Iron
say,
Hill-
this is what my brother left in his glass.
Oh, okay.
So drink the rest of it. There you go.
That's very good. Iron Hill is it's a restaurant that brews its own beer.
Sure.
And
It's
they have
it's a
that
brew
many
pub. It's
things.
a brew pub.
Yeah. So I don't know anything about the food industry, nor do I want to learn a lot about it. So
No.
they could open up, but little breweries. What the phenomena that I see happening is the big guys like us who have distributors. It's harder for us during this pandemic than it is for the self-distributed breweries.
Okay.
Because they still have their contacts direct. The big breweries, they know where their bread is buttered. They got Coors, they got Miller, they got the heat pouring down on them to sell as much as they can because their business is way down. And the little breweries are getting thrown under the bus by the distributors.
Right.
So, if I knew now or then what I know now, I would have self-distributed.
Right.
Although Kohler, I'll tell you, Kohler is great in North Jersey.
Oh, I got to be honest with you. Your distributor, and I have ties to to that distributor, as at least the three of us know. Whatchamacallit, hands down, such an amazing distributorship. They really are. They do such a good job. But continue.
Well, that's the end of the story.
Oh, you were done.
Yeah.
No need to continue.
And when little breweries are opening up now, breweries that are opening up now, I don't understand it. Just hold off, keep your money for a while until you can get more people inside.
Sure.
We're allowed Cricket Hill's been around for a lot of years. We're allowed 26 people inside. That's it. And you can sit outside if you want to.
Sure.
In the cold.
In the cold.
But and then thank God for takeout.
And
depending on the IPA, depending on the ABV of the beer you're pouring, I'll sit outside. Yeah. So.
But you're one of the great beer.
We hope to have.
Thanks. Yeah, but
we do hope to have the owner of a brewery that just opened during the pandemic on the show in January. Yes. And it's going to be interesting because I will ask him, how did you have the audacity to open during a pandemic?
Yes.
What were the challenges, and all that? So we'll see. So stay tuned, viewers. We will get an inside look into.
Are we allowed to know the name?
Yeah. They're called Six Pack, and it's not because they sell 6 packs of beer. I guarantee you, it's going to be 16 ounces of 4 packs. But it's 6 pack because the man has 6 dogs, so his pack of dogs are 6, and it goes.
I just thought he worked out and had like good abs. I thought you were.
No, Mark. I don't know. I've not seen his abs. I don't care to. But
I don't
he goes
want to
from
either.
Chihuahua size all the way up to like Mastiff size. So he's got like all different breeds.
That's cool.
And all his six flagship beers are named after his dogs. So I love the dedication because I'm a dog person, and we hope to have Mark on in January at some point to talk about what made you. Okay, so you started opening the brewery before the pandemic. What made you go through with it, with all the challenges were coming up against you? What scared you, right?
Right.
Because okay, Rick, full well there's a fear when it comes to opening a brewery, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But when you have them on, you got to introduce them to Gretchen at Little Dog.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Gretchen, we want to have Gretchen on for
Definitely.
many reasons. She was the first female master brewer in the state. She retired, got married, went over, and on her honeymoon went through a bunch of German breweries, and then her husband talked her into opening a brewery herself, and that's going to be an amazing story. So I'm not going to say any more about it because I don't want to give too much away about it.
Okay.
But
Dave Campanella said he loves little dogs.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Her beers. Can you find a cleaner? Can you find a cleaner beer in New Jersey?
No.
No offense, really. Rick, but her beers are so damn clean.
You can't find it. No. Rick, you can't find a cleaner beer because her beers are perfectly clean, and so are Rick's. So Rick's aren't cleaner; they're as clean. They're at the top. Yeah. So
she was in the business before I was.
Yeah. She was brewing in Red Bank.
And you know what?
Basil Teas. Yeah.
Basil Teas, and I've been through so many brewery tours. Your tour was one of my favorite, Rick's, because so much fun at your tour.
You can't compare. I don't care how many breweries I've been to, and I can't even begin to count. Last year, the lovely Jessica and I took a trip to the Midwest, and we hit 50 breweries in 10 days, and not one tour that I took. And some of them were great, but some of them were actually by the owners. Took me in the back and gave me the tour. Personal one-on-one. Not one tour has compared to any of your speeches on a Friday night there, Mr. Reed.
No. But I'll say one thing about Gretchen's tour. As many tours as I've been on, hers was probably the first one that I actually learned something.
There you go.
She knows what she's doing. So Rick, thanks for bringing her up, because now we're going to say, we'll throw it out there, Gretchen. If you're watching, you need to be on the show.
Yeah, we need to. Jess and I were actually going to stop over there on Saturday, and we got tied up doing a couple other things. We're probably going to make it over there this Saturday. So
you live right near there.
I'm 3 minutes from her brewery.
You're right there.
Yeah, but we'll stop
tell
over
her
there.
I said hi. Send her love from me.
Absolutely, I'll tell her both of you say hi.
All right.
And but January's going to be we're doing, obviously there's 4 shows in January because there's 4 Tuesdays in January. And there's 2 New Jersey breweries and 2 Rhode Island breweries. There you go.
Perfect.
So it's alternating. Jersey next week, then Rhode Island, and so forth and so on. So But yes, Rick, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today.
John, my pleasure.
Absolutely. We go way back, and everything that you said today was just amazing. And I hope everybody that has been watching the show, and for that matter, will listen to the show on the podcast, understands that it's just the words that come from your mouth are just gospel.
Manna from heaven.
Gospel. They're gospel.
Gospel,
right?
gospel, because he's Reverend Rick.
Because he's Reverend Rick Reed, right? Exactly.
Rick, I'm gonna draw a promise out of you right now that when this pandemic is over, you will get back up on that catwalk and you will John, I told you to use the word. You didn't use it, and I don't know.
I was waiting. Let's use it right now.
You need to proselytize.
You need to proselytize.
From the catwalk. That is a great word. I love that word. You need to proselytize from that catwalk and convert the unbelievers.
I accept the challenge.
Absolutely. And the day when this is done, and the day that you can do that, Dave and I will both be there, and we'll actually Facebook and Instagram live the speech of that day.
All right,
on the Locker Room.
Absolutely.
There you go. You didn't even go with the friggin'. You just went right to the. You didn't even the triple dare. You went to the triple dog dare right away.
Yeah.
Because the F word, we stayed away from the F word until Augie was on the program.
And once Augie proselytized the F bomb, we were like, all right, forget it. It's done.
Yeah, we might as well. So the hell with it. Screw the censors.
By the way, just as an aside, the bottle share, but the three of us at Brian's house, Brian said it works for him. So
okay,
there you go. And that we don't have to wait till the end of the pandemic.
If you've never been, no, because his deck is spectacular enough.
His deck is spectacular enough, and it's large enough. We can socially distance, and the four of us can have a nice bottle share there. Oh, we might have to have a little bit more there.
No. So this is my son Matthew. He's been so patient. He's waiting for dinner right now. So
hi, little samurai. How are you? So good job. Oh, he's waiting for the spaghetti.
He's waiting for this.
Is that Patty in the background there, Rick? Hi, Patty.
Hey, Patty.
Oh, he's an adult.
Oh, that's it.
There you go.
Sway a little bit so you're on the camera.
There he is.
There he is.
That's why it's smacking your head.
There you go.
And just never forget, that's the woman that's behind the whole thing.
Absolutely, Patty.
Without her on the back of my
Patty, Patty, we owe you a debt of gratitude for.
Yes, we thank you very much for making that statement in Bermuda back on that day. So we really appreciate it. So,
by the way, that child that was here is 16 years old, and he's taller than me already. 16
years old and taller than you. Hey, well, when Jonathan was 16 years old, he was taller than me. So, and he's still, well, actually, no, 18 maybe. He's 20 now, and
you're
he's still taller
than
me.
I am.
Yeah, he's my son's almost 2 inches taller than me. So, and he's only 20. So, in any event, all right. Pete Minetti, Radio Pete from the Sports Podcast said, "Great job, guys. Thank you." And Brian gave us a cheers. So, I think that will allow us to wrap things up. Cheers, Brian. Cheers, Pete. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate
it.
Rick, again, thank you so much for coming on. Rick, we definitely want to have you back on again.
You
were
one of our dream guests. This is one of the things. Yeah, this is one of the things that when John and I started, we're like, we got to get Reverend Rick on.
Absolutely.
He's one of the legends in the New Jersey craft beer world. Let's get him on the show. And
I appreciate that very much.
I can't wait.
I'm a little overrated.
Yeah. Don't put yourself down like that. And don't go anywhere either. Don't click that you're signing off, because we're just going to end the podcast. But I want to talk to you for 1 second. So we'll wrap it up for today. Once again, special thanks to Rick for coming on. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Great show today. One of our better shows. It was good.
Now John gets to read off of something, and hopefully he changed Wednesday to Tuesday.
I already did. It's already done. So we want to thank everyone for watching. And for those of you listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.logroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Log Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday night at 5:30. And for those of you that just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a wonderful week. Have a great, happy, healthy, and successful new year. We're crossing our fingers that 2021 is much, much, much better than 2020 has been for all of us.
Well, isn't that the truth?
Absolutely. Everybody's lips to God's ears.
Amen.
Amen. Rick, thanks for coming on. Take care, and we will talk to you soon. Happy New Year,
Thank
folks.
you, Rick.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers to everybody.
Bye, folks.